big developments happening in what has turned out to be the biggest story of the past few days with the Maldives. Well, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, as we speak, the president of the Maldives is touring China, signing deal after deal. There are some red lines that India will certainly have on some of those deals, especially if the Chinese are looking to set up more ports and perhaps covered submarine bases in the Maldives for obvious reasons. Well, simultaneously, one of the Maldivian ministers who was party to the insulting posts against India's Prime Minister, has now come out to have a glowing Twitter message praising and wishing birthday greetings to India's External Affairs Minister, Ambassador Jaishankar. Simultaneously, the opposition leaders in Maldives are demanding that their Foreign Minister Musa Zamir be summoned to answer before Parliament. At the same time, there are more agencies, tour operators, websites that are now saying they won't be offering either insurance or tours in the Maldives, or indeed they'll go out of the way to be promoting Lakshadweep. A promotion of Lakshadweep tourism plan has been released by Make My Trip and other operators as we speak. The markets in Maldives that are tracking the developments are taking a dip, and the latest estimates indicate perhaps hundreds, maybe even thousands of people are cancelling their trips. We won't know, at least for the next month or two, on what the impact on the Maldivian tourism industry will indeed be. It's a complex conversation on what happens next. So let's open this up. Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee joining us on the broadcast. Vijay Kranti is with us. Professor Madhav Nalapat is with us. Gautam Mukherjee joining us. And Sandhya Singh from visawale.com is joining us on the broadcast as well. Sandhya, let me begin with you. Are you seeing some difference? Are there actually people who no longer from India want to visit the Maldives? Is it a real thing, or are we just adding hyperbole to it?
No, Rishabh, you are absolutely right, because we can see the changes. I have been working in this industry from the past 10 years. So if I talk about that, this comment has really made a change in that people are shifting their choices rather than going to Maldives. They are looking for the destination which can be covered in India only. And I must say that the tourism is burgeoning in India. So promoting Lakshadweep rather than Maldives, I believe it is going to be on the top of the list.
Okay. So what about other places other than Lakshadweep? Goa has been packed over the last few weeks. You know, the prices in Goa have gone through the roof. It's become very expensive, which of course means a lot of people are going there. So what is the boom that you've seen in the past few weeks?
South India has always been a choice for the visitors. The reason behind why they do not cover South India, because of the language barrier sometimes, and sometimes because of the food as well. So I believe if we are going to concern about all these matters, we can promote Indian destinations as we used to promote all these foreign destinations. And people will be willing to visit these places.
Okay, let me get Professor Nalapat into this. Professor Nalapat, now no surprises, because the current establishment in the Maldives, President Muizzu spent large parts of his electoral campaign on the streets of Malé, wearing a red shirt saying India out, carrying banners and placards saying India out. It's not a coincidence, of course, that he's been to or is currently in China signing deal after deal. What do you make of what is going on? Where does this end?
Rishabh, China and the CCP is an expert in building ghost projects. You've got entire cities in China where there are not even 10 families living in a city with about 1,000 skyscrapers. Now you have got ghost projects. You've got the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka. You have an airport. No flights take off. No ships come there.
I just want to mention something. I just want to mention something, sir. Hambantota, for people watching the broadcast, is operating at 2% capacity. 2% capacity. Professor Nalapat, carry on.
Exactly. So the point is, what Mr. Muizzu is doing is the young people of Maldives who are, especially the radicalized, they don't realize they are going to be deeply in debt as a consequence of this gentleman's actions. and they're going to have a huge national debt. And what is going to happen is that the Chinese, of course, have got this ability of converting debt into assets. And then they will to try and take over as many Maldivian assets as possible. And then who knows, tomorrow they may say that just as they're talking that, that the South China Sea belongs to China, or other parts, some parts of India belong to China without any substantiation. One day they may just say, oh, there was the Chinese emperor that came to Maldives 10,000 years ago. So Maldives also belongs to China. And by that time, Muizzu, thanks to his policies, there will be thousands and thousands of Chinese coming into the Maldives and settling down there. We have seen that in the Pacific Islands, where thousands and thousands of Chinese, all close to the Communist Party, come and settle down. We have seen that in the borders of Russia, where tens and hundreds of thousands of Chinese are settling down with the encouragement of CCP. And I think you're going to see a similar situation in the Maldives. And I think the Maldivian people are going to realize the mess into which this president is leading them. But I only, pray that that this will happen soon, because otherwise I can tell you the Maldivian people are going to be the worst sufferers from this kind of policy.
Okay, so what do you make of the real developments? The suspension of the ministers. They have not been expelled; they've been suspended from government. Now a rumor is circulating in the Maldivian press that the authorities there, the president's office, is doing an outreach. They're looking for a Muizzu visit to India shortly. The Maldivian opposition wants the foreign minister summoned. They want to know why Muizzu has not even gotten on a phone call with Narendra Modi to try to patch things. Do you think that there is some patching that can be done in the near term?
My Rishabh, these are cosmetic gestures, PR gestures. There's nothing substantive in them. If you if you talk to social media profiles, if you access that, and today anybody who's online, it's easy to access his or her history over years. These people have been vituperative about India for at least the last 2 years. Very vituperative. What they said, what has come into prominence now is nothing compared to the nonsense they've been saying about India for the last 2 years. Muizzu selected them because they are hostile to India. Muizzu himself is hostile to India. He can come with a bunch of roses and a bunch of flowers to Delhi, and probably he will come, because otherwise you're going to have the Maldivian economy is going to be a ghost economy like so many towns in China. But the reality of the situation is these people have been anti-India for a very long time, anti-Indians for a very, very long time. And this flies in the face of the fact that India is basically the biggest and in many respects the only benefactor of the people of the Maldives, who are the worst sufferers of this Muizzu administration.
Okay, so now let's call a spade a spade. Vijay Kranti, I'm putting the images of our screens. So the fact that these people are insulting the India's Prime Minister, ironically, is not new. What you're seeing on your screens are memes of PM Modi, which were part of Muizzu's election rallies. He was roaming around wearing a red shirt called India Out, with carrying placards called India Out. That was his entire electoral campaign. He is currently, as you well know, in China, and he just called the Chinese valuable allies and integral collaborators, while he's made it clear that his entire premise is to kick India out. So after all of this, do we want to host him? Do we want to now try to patch up things? What do we do?
Leave aside the question of hosting. Sorry. It's for first for President Muizzu to make a request that he wants to come to India. That is one thing. I don't know he's going to do it or not. But one thing I observed that as when you said in election days he was wearing a red red shirt and asking India out. I think that is understandable, because every country, every political party has an audience. So he was addressing that audience. But if he goes beyond that, I think if he had stopped there, I would have called him an intelligent or a clever politician. But the way he is going ahead, I find this poor man lacks the basic statesmanship which any country, big or small, needs in the highest occupying authority. And unfortunately, he has shown lack of that statesmanship and refinedness also, which even small party functionaries, need it very badly. I think the way he has been talking about India even after his election, and even before he took over as president, what he was talking, I could always see that this man is in a habit of biting more than the capacity of what he can chew. And this is exactly now what he has done, breaking all the old tradition of visiting India first, which has been always the biggest benefactor to Maldives and the people of Maldives. But he chooses to go to China. Okay, going to China.
No,
there is
Vijay
nothing
Kranti
wrong.
doesn't choose to go to China. He chooses to spend 5 days in China, praise the Chinese. But the question is, if he's running on hubris, can he convert it into reality? Are the Chinese going to now send in a few 100,000 tourists? Are they going to sign him a big check? Are they going to now keep up the Maldivian economy without making any demands in return? Can the Maldivian people feel reassured that don't worry, the Chinese are now going to come and they're going to pump in so much money that we are sorted?
This is where I see that there is a lack of statesmanship and wisdom in this gentleman, the new president of Maldives. He should have realized the size of his country. He should have realized the size of his population. And going and sitting in the lap of China and hoping that they will send more tourists than India can send, he is simply inviting trouble. And if I can use the term, he is unfortunately writing a death warrant for his country, for the sovereignty of Maldives, for the economy of Maldives, and for the future of the people of Maldives. By going and sitting in the lap of China, he should have kept distance. If he had a few policies favoring China, he could have very quietly implemented that.
Okay, so the big question. Go finish your thought.
Yeah, but he has unfortunately, as I use the term, I will say it again, he is biting more than he can chew. I don't think he has the capacity even to handle his own people. The moment they realize that China is going to swallow Maldives. At that time, you can see at the best, such a head of state can only run away to another.
Yeah, but we were having the similar conversations, as you'll recall, Vijay Kranti, when you had KP Oli sitting in Nepal, when you literally had the ambassador in Kathmandu of China visiting the president, visiting the prime minister, running the government, trying to see, forget administrative matters. They were getting involved in constitutional matters. If there is a dispute within the government, the Chinese representative is going to the president to figure out, when the elections will be called, that become a joke. But the bottom line in this, then, Gautam Mukherjee, is, then what? Now, what do? We have to then wait for a few years and then say, we told you so. Like you can say of the Sri Lankans or the Nepalese, because clearly Muizzu can't see. He just can't see what has happened in Sri Lanka. He can't see what has happened in Nepal. So it's a bitter lesson for them to learn for themselves. What do we do about it?
Well, one of the things, Rishabh, is that they're heading for a general election later on this year. So Muizzu has, dug a grave for himself because about 48% is in the opposition. He's won with a slim majority, and down the road, because of his sort of extreme tilt, for which it is unclear whether he will receive anything substantial from China. The traditional and for the most part successive governments in the Maldives have been pro-India because of geographical necessity. China's a long way away. While we wait, I think the pressure should be kept on the Maldives. I think this is a blessing in disguise in terms of developing the infrastructure in not only Lakshadweep, but a number of other places in the country, and the sharp reaction of the public and the trade, not just the tourism trade, but also general trade, against this sort of behavior from the Maldives is a backhanded boost. It enables the government to spend large sums of money in areas and on things that might not have been so politically expedient in the past. Let's also remember that when it comes to Minicoy, we're just 70 nautical miles away from the Maldives, and any kind of security setups can be replicated in the Minicoy islands, which are quite large. It's about 11 miles long, which is bigger than any island.
Yeah, there are naysayers, and there are naysayers. Plenty of them are sitting in our own brethren, sir. They are convinced that no, this boycott Maldives is government sponsored. Nobody's actually boycotting Maldives. That the cancellations are not real. That India ki tourism ki bas ki nahi hai. Look how pretty Maldives is. How can you beat them? There are plenty of people around that. But in a very real sense, the question is, so then what? Ambassador Mukherjee is on the broadcast with us. Ambassador Mukherjee, a person who is entire political DNA. For people watching the broadcast, by the way, the previous last to last Maldivian president, Abdullah Yamin, actually went to jail for embezzlement of funds that he received to the tunes of millions of dollars from the Chinese. The Maldivian state themselves tried and convicted him for having taken bribes from Chinese officials personally, not government, personally taken bribes, millions of dollars. But ma'am, this is not news to us that this man doesn't like India. He's been out and about holding anti-India rallies. It says India out. You can't get more in your face than that. He's in China singing their praises. Does he double down now? He says, okay, I've chosen this path. Now I become even more vicious. Or does he feel that he's bitten off more than he can chew?
He has definitely bitten off more than he can chew, more than he can digest, more than he can absorb, whatever word you want to use, because he is now in a real mess. First of all, Chinese assistance comes with strings. Maldives will get into a China debt trap. Everybody knows that. Secondly, the racist and derogatory remarks made about India, Indian people and India's Prime Minister have shocked the people of India. The boycott tourism movement on social media is led by celebrities. Some of them may not necessarily share the same political views as that of the present government. There is outrage in India as Indians. It is not led by the government at all. And the Maldivians will soon find out, because there will be no new bookings to go to Maldives. I agree with you that the naysayers have already started by questioning how many hotels does Lakshadweep have, or how many 5-star hotels does Lakshadweep have. Everything will come. When there is demand, supply comes. That's the basic law of economics, which Gautam knows better than me. But the point here is that there is no shortage of naysayers. But to answer your question, not only has he bitten off more than he can chew, his continuous refrain that India must get its troops out would give the uninformed the erroneous impression that the Indian army has put a whole battalion there in Maldives. Not at all. At the request of the previous government, there are some Indian military forces there to service Maldivian military assets that we have provided free of cost. If we leave, they will have no one to service those assets. If they think that the Chinese are going to come in and service Indian military assets, I think they are mistaken. Nor would we leave behind our military assets for the Chinese to service. So there is a whole lot here too that he has bitten off, and which he will be unable to chew or to digest. But the most important issue is that apparently he now wants to come to India in January. We have a very full program in January, Rishabh. We have our Ayodhya event. We have 26th January with President Macron, etc. It would be very interesting to see whether his request now to visit India in January.
Well, officially there is no word from either the Maldivian government or the Ministry of External Affairs whether a request has been made. unofficially, we are being told that yes, indeed, an expression has been sent. But Ambassador Mukherjee, after what's happened, I mean, you're out on the streets, you're basically, in your rallies, you have caricatures of India's Prime Minister, embarrassing ones, okay, deliberately designed to provoke. You're carrying out posters and basing your campaign on kicking India out. You are in China singing high praises. It's not a small trip, it's a 5-day trip. It's not a big deal for the Chinese. It's not like Xi Jinping is coming to the airport to meet him. But you've gone there with your bowl in hand saying, this is what we want, give us these monies. After all of this, what is he going to come and do here in India? Exchange pleasantries?
First of all, is he at all coming here?
Yeah, we don't know, yeah.
Here, are we giving him guard of honor in Rashtrapati Bhavan? What are the discussions going to be on, etc.? These are imponderables. If he comes here, I am sure, Rishabh, it will be a one-day visit. In one day, out the other. We're certainly not going to host him for more than 48 hours. I'm quite sure about that. But your very valid question is, what are we going to do? I think we would tell the Maldivians, like we told the Maldivian High Commissioner yesterday, I'm told informally, that this kind of caricaturing and this kind of racist remarks are not acceptable for bilateral relationships between two sovereign states, one of whom is deeply indebted to the other for development cooperation, for free vaccines, for so many other things, and most important, for huge flows of tourism which boost their economy. I think that we would have to tell them that it is not possible for India to pretend that it's business as usual until they make amends in a more substantive way. And for me, Rishabh, making amends is not just suspending the ministers concerned. 3 have been suspended, 1 has not been suspended, I'm told. The spokesperson of the Maldivian government must express regret and distance the Maldivian government and the president from these remarks, and to reiterate that Maldives attaches the greatest importance to its bilateral relationship with India. And nothing short of that would satisfy India.
Yeah, but the question is, again, I'm just showing visuals on our screens that this is not new. It's one thing when you are out and about doing political campaigning, okay? It's one thing when you take the responsible office of representing your country. The tone and tenor is expected to be different. Would you consider, okay, let's say 3 union ministers from India made caricatures of the Sri Lankan president or the Bangladeshi prime minister or the Maldivian president? It won't be thinkable. None of us could imagine something like that would happen. And if it would happen, they would lose their jobs regardless of whether it's a friendly government or unfriendly government. That's we don't see them doing that with the Pakistanis, for gosh sake. Government of India has not made caricatures of Justin Trudeau. I'm free to do so. Even I have not done it. So let me get Vijay Kranti back into this. Vijay Kranti, so what's the game here? Like I said, do we now just have to wait? You have to learn your own lessons. The Lankans had to learn it the hard way. The Nepalese had to learn it the hard way. We are doing our best. In the end, you're a free sovereign country. You have an electoral process, whatever it is. We wish you the best. If this is the leaders you want, you're free to have them. Just don't involve us.
One thing, as far as India's reaction is concerned, I think this is time when India should not react. Because if you react to President Muizzu or his ministers at official level very strongly, you are unnecessarily putting yourself at par, or you are pulling yourself down to that level. When I say that level, it's not about the size of that country or the total population of that country. It is the mindset of the ruling leader. The way Mr. Muizzu has reduced himself to a street level kind of not even politician. The way he has done, I don't think it suits anybody in the world who has is reasonably responsible position in the public system. So I think number one, India should only just wait, observe what he is doing in China. And I am one of them, that group who are contemplating that he might come with a defense pact with China. And if he does that, I think he would have already...
No. So I'm coming back after the break to discuss the very serious implication, because one thing is to say that we are making mockery of you, we are passing insulting comments, we don't want your tourism, we want fine, that's fine. The other thing is to go against India's very clear strategic and security interests. So if they think they're going to be building a Chinese submarine base in the Maldives, they've got another thing coming. That's a level of escalation, which is a whole other conversation. Gautam Mukherjee, before I get into that whole other conversation, in a very real sense, what do you make of the Indian response? Okay, do you think it's going to be a blip that tomorrow the resorts in the Maldives will come out with great discounts and great deals, and the flight operators will say you cheap tickets, and then it'll be all passe, it'll be back to normal?
Well, that could happen if this government is kicked out. But with Muizzu there, I don't think the Indian public is taking kindly to this kind of thing. We do not tolerate insults to our religion and to our way of life, and indeed to our allies anymore. People in India who have tried to issue ads that insult the religion and so on have found out the hard way and changed their ways. And Maldives and Indians have realized their economic power in many ways, and they're going to use it. And this is not going to go away. They're going to have to behave, and if they don't, they will face the consequences.
Okay, but what consequences? So let me get Sandhya back in. Sandhya, what are you suspecting? Do you I suspect that okay, theek hai, 3-4 din ke liye, it's a bit of a viral blow. Eventually, we will move on, and again the discounts will come, and the tour operators, people have livelihoods, people have commissions to pay, and eventually it'll be business as usual. Or do you substantively think that 2-3 years ago there was a turn in the tide? Suddenly, a lot of Indians during COVID and immediately after decided to go to the Maldives. It was convenient, it was close by, and 200,000 Indians went. That's about if each person is spending a lakh or 2 lakhs, 2,000 crores was spent in the Maldives by Indians in the last year. Do you think that to be substantively lower this year?
Rishabh, if we are talking about numbers, so last year more than 2 lakh Indians, they traveled to Maldives. And this year also, because in the beginning of January, as Maldives has on visa on arrival and other facilities available there, and there are some resorts which are quite cheap as well. So it is more like you are visiting Goa in India. So that's why, as people, they need, kind of a status in the society that they are visiting a foreign country. So rather than visiting Goa, they prefer to visit Maldives just to get this status in the society. But visiting such place where you are not going to get 3-star property just for the name's sake. So I personally feel that we can promote Indian destinations with good facilities and other provisions which can actually be beneficial for us. Apart from that, let me tell you, in past few days only, many of my customers, those who are willing to go to Maldives because of all these chaos and comments from both the countries, they have decided to cancel their on coming trips.
And why are they cancelling, Sandhya? Are they cancelling because they are genuinely upset? Or are they cancelling because they fear that, listen, it's going to be hostile, so we don't want to get stuck in a place that is hostile to Indians?
The Indians, that they are more into emotions and sentiments. So after this news, many of them, they have cancelled their trips because of this only. And they are switching to Indian destinations. Even many of them, they have asked for the quote to Lakshadweep, Goa. And there is one more destination in Uttarakhand, which we have been promoting since long, but it is not in the limelight. That is Tihri. Yeah, so let's see what other things are going to be.
So you do suspect that it is not a blip? Because things happen, things can happen. There can be. I remember in Australia, some of the students were attacked, and it became an issue. Crimes can take place, but now you're dealing with a government, a regime, and you've seen it on your screens. Okay, this government hates India. They've been clear about it since day one. The caricatures have been happening through their entire electoral process. They hate India. Does that mean they hate Indians also? I don't know. It's rather strange where you say, no, you please come so I can take your money, but I hate you. Okay. It's a bit strange. It's a bit weird. So this is a point of conversation, of course, that needs to continue. I'm going to take a break and we're going to have a serious conversation on the other side, because it's one thing to talk and it's another thing to act. And what happens if this government under Muizzu goes beyond economics and tourism? What if he's hosting the Chinese submarines? Where's the line and how do we draw it?
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.